Welcome to the Healers Podcast, where we inspire and guide healers through business expansion. We give voice to incredibly abundant healers to share their stories. We dive into the quantum field to unlock the energies of conscious creation. We also develop digital tools to help you grow, which you can find on healers.com. I'm your host, Yuli, and I'm grateful you chose to join this space. Now let's go deep. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Healers Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Jessica Ruth Shepard. She's a holistic health coach based in New York who's practiced for more than 25 years, who worked with anyone from prisoners to celebrities. She defines herself as the best box of matches you've ever had, and she loves setting spark in her clients. She's a fellow Dr. Joe Dispenza advanced student, and we actually met on a group walking meditation hike and had an instant connection. And today we'll be exploring a very deep topic of finding your worth as a healer. And as you know, I love to set intention for each episode, and my intention is to help you solidify what shapes your self-worth as a healer and how does that impact your business. With that said, please welcome Jessica.
Hey, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me, Yuli. It's a real pleasure. I just have so much fun getting to connect with you in this way. It's really special. So thanks for having me. I think that in terms of my intention, I really would like to help other healers, practitioners, wellness people in the wellness world who are in the giving, being of service industry, I guess you could call it, is how to feel a lot more at ease around their value and self-worth, and that what they have to offer is enough. I tend to work with, in my practice as a holistic health coach and counselor, I work with, and also I've been working as a bodywork practitioner as well for a long time, a lot of high achieving creative people who feel shut down in their body, in mind, spirit, in some way or another, and needing support and guidance to live a lot more vibrantly, passionately, and more connected. And when I say high achieving, that can mean lots of things. It's sort of up to the individual to decide what that means to them. But I really do see that that's a common theme with a lot of people that I work with. There's a couple categories of my clientele. I guess one would be like recovering type A in a way, and then other people who are really in the creative arts and they're connecting that with their wellness, to put it very shortly.
Nice. I feel like I fall into both categories. So.
Yeah, no accident over here. Yeah.
This is also going to be a very self-serving session.
Good. It usually is.
Thank you again. And I think I would love to explore this fascinating subject of worth and self-worth, because I know from talking to so many different healers, this subject always comes up when people feel like the healing practice is something, it's a gift, it's something that their purpose that they came to this world to do is a service. And so many people have a really hard time transforming it into a thriving business. It's one thing. And two, even charging for their services, because they feel like it's their obligation to provide a service, for free to people because they have this gift. And I think it's an important piece that a lot of healers kind of at some point you step on your path and you realize this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do for a living. So how do you work with that piece? And I know you work with that personally, you work with clients a lot on that piece. I would love to dive deep into that subject.
There's so much to say about that subject, and also about the way in which it's on a continuum over time, like where you might be in the beginning of figuring that out versus where one might be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years into doing it. And I don't think it ever completely vanishes, except that it just changes form as I've evolved and changed and grown and realized what it means to continue to work in a profession ongoing. A lot of practitioners, there's like an average that the lifespan of many who go into the healing arts, this is a real statistic that they last as a business person doing it for like, I think it was something like 4 years, and something happens. They either burn out, give up, or they just don't have the right support or direction or guidance. And one of my biggest beliefs is that we cannot do this alone. We actually really need the support and guidance of others to help hold our hands to. And I've probably invested more in that than almost anything else, other than my own healing and my own travels and things like that. But just getting the right kind of support to help me really see that. And I think we all need to have people that are our mentors and our coaches and healers that we go to and to heal our own wounding anyway. So I think that that's the first thing, is if you're a practitioner, like having support and guidance is like really essential. One thing that has helped me off and on through the years, and some clients I'm working with even currently, is to stop making it about ourselves, to be of service. Yes, I would love to. And I have had clients that I've done pro bono, for free, for gifting, for extra sessions, for extra this, for lots and lots of giving without anything in exchange. Tons. In fact, there's even a great book that I love from over the years that I read called by a woman named Barbara Stanley, called Overcoming Under-Earning. And it's it's one of the best books ever. So I highly recommend that. And her whole body of work is great. So I work with her and I love her. So anyway, but just to see that, I was speaking with a client earlier about the way in which that we have to sort of remove ourselves from it and see that it's not like we're giving a service. We're not giving ourselves. It's like coming through us. So you can like put yourself to the side a little bit and see that and also, even though it's a calling and it's just, I can't not do what I'm doing. I have to do what I'm doing. It's a calling in a very deep, profound way. It has been forever. Still, people who, I don't know, you could pick any other job or profession and they don't necessarily struggle with the same issues in the same kind of way as healers do, in terms of what it means to give and to be compensated for what you're giving, and to put a price tag on it is it moves around. It's like a floating orb trying to nail down that. And I've also experimented over the years, and I've encouraged clients to experiment. And some of them have had they've become just as nervous to charge $25 as they've been to charge $3,000 or something. Like they just still get nervous around the issue of asking for anything in exchange for what they give. It's not even necessarily always about the amount. Sometimes it can just be that they have fear around stepping into their value of any kind.
Why do you think it happens to healers specifically so much?
With healing, there's like a nurturing component. And if you're naturally nurturing and giving and loving and caring, and then it just feels natural to do it. And that's it. Like, that's it. There's that doesn't go beyond that. How would I price that? That's so weird. It's just what I do. It's just what I do. And I've had coaches, whoever, say to me like, yeah, and that's what you do. Like, that is your gift to the world, and how great you can be compensated for it. But again, no, people don't question being compensated to sell a house or being compensated to it's their time. Time has value. But there's a lot of other, again, professions where it's borderline, you're nurturing and caring, but there's something about that thing of holding loving, caring space and guidance for someone that just feels like it's what you're supposed to just do. We should all be able to just have it. And yet we only have a certain amount of time in the day to be able to do that. So, and if we're gifted, we're gifted. Like there isn't room to do the other kinds of work and get paid for those other things necessarily. We have to do our craft.
I think you nailed it with the nurturing feeling. I think it's also sometimes it's hard for people to pinpoint the exact value they're giving and therefore how to price it, because a lot of the work that healers do is really hard to define in our three-dimensional reality terms, right? How do you price energy work, right?
Yeah.
Or how do you price some of the ancient traditions that people either inherited as part of their lineage or, received in any other way? How do you put a price tag on thousands of years of knowledge and experience that you're bringing to the table?
I'm going to dovetail on that because it reminds me of something that I've said over the years many times, which is that it's made up, first of all. It's made up. Numbers and pricing things is made up. People in the art world will say the same thing. There's a market, yes, and you have to study what your market is, and it's also made up. Like we make up numbers all the time. Everyone does. You make up numbers. And there are, again, market value, what your peers are doing, whatever. And there are people that, again, when I've charged whatever I have for, say, a program or a session, they'll get into a whole headspace in the beginning and then later won't even remember what they spent on it anyway, because their transformation outweighs whatever number they would have put on it anyway. But the other thing, there's a great story about, and I've experienced that too, by the way. I've spent tremendous amounts on healers and coaching, whatever. And later on I go, God, thank God I spent all that on, because the results are far beyond any number I could have ever made up, ever. That's priceless. The things I have gained from investing in those things, priceless. There's no price tag I could have ever, I would have spent quadruple the amount if I know, that's the result, that results we get. So we pay hopefully for results and experience. But there's this old story about Picasso, these stories, but Picasso is like on the streets making a painting and a woman comes up and says, I'd love to buy that. How much is it? And he says, I don't know, I'm making this up, $1 million. And she goes, oh my God, $1 million. And then he said, yeah, $1 million and 30 years. So it's like, what he means is like, those are the years of investment of experience and training and blood, sweat, and tears he's put into just creating his art. And I feel the same way for people who are healers and practitioners. I mean, even if you're young and you're just getting started, I understand that it may not feel that way, but people who've been doing it like I have for longer, it's not just what I'm showing up with now. It's like years of turning and studying and learning and my own healing and my own screwing up and my own, so it's a lot goes into that time. And that's part of what gets put the price tag. But I love that story, Picasso. It always reminds me of like all the years that someone has trained and learned and studied and sacrificed and compromised or whatever and healed on their own.
And how have you overcome this struggle?
I think it's on a continuum. There's like new levels to reach at different points. I think there's something about trust and a confidence over time. And then also witnessing my clients and witnessing their results and witnessing them seeing and saying, I would have paid anything for this. This is like, thank God I'm over here now. I was over here and we together through our process, now we're over here and let's keep going. And they just got so much out of the work that they weren't caught up. They didn't care at the end of the day. They didn't care about how much they spent, and they made it back 10 times over, or it helped them to heal their own wounding around making a living, or that helped them to heal things around their own body, mind, spirit that were in such delay for so long. And they finally found a better path for it through our work together or something like that. So that for me to witness that over and over, it's like helped me probably gain much more confidence. And also, I really value my time and my training and my skills and what I've learned and how much I've invested and how much I've committed my life to as a healer and a practitioner and to learning endlessly.
So let's talk about developing your skills. You're a multi-modality healer, right? And I was just looking at the list of all the education and certifications that you received, which is incredible. So what drives you to pursue new knowledge, new techniques?
Well, I love learning for myself so I can experiment. I like being kind of like a mad scientist in the kitchen, so to speak. I like trying out all kinds of stuff with myself, practicing things, seeing what they're like. So the way to do that is to put myself into a learning environment where I can practice. And I see where we usually teach what we need to learn too, so that I always share whatever it is I'm learning and whatever it is I've gained insight from or my own transformational experiences. I share them with my clients. And so I see where the gaps might be with my offerings. And I see where there's more I could learn around XYZ so that my clients who I'm working with can benefit from. And so I mean, God, sometimes it can be very overwhelming, the different kinds of things I could study. And so that's usually when I actually have to tell myself to stop and just enjoy and deepen what I've already been learning instead of take on more. And I don't think more is always better with training. I think more depth into what you're already learning about can be more helpful.
And there's so many different healing modalities, right, out there. There's hundreds upon hundreds. How do you choose which one to study, which one to practice? Is there something that you were drawn on specifically, something that happened in your life that led you to a specific practice?
Yes. Every time I have chosen to study something, it has come from a very organic experience in the moment, synchronistic, real life, real time, something happening where it was presented at the exact right moment. And I just went with it. And usually it correlated, or not usually, every time it's correlated with something I was physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, going through, that I knew it was time to either change something or learn something that I could learn for myself, but also offer to my community. But I think I was always seeking. So whenever I knew that the thing would show up when it needed to, I really trust that. What is it called? You seek for the teacher and the teacher appears, those kind of things. So they've always just shown up when I've needed it. So I guess one example is, and it's usually come when something's been off in my system. Like I had thrown my back out and I've gone really, really severe herniation and sciatic nerve issues down my leg. It was the beginning of many years that's a much longer story for another time, but really severe. And I remember that it was that. And then I got really sick with I don't know, maybe it was a flu or something. And I remember laying in bed thinking okay, I can do work as a body worker, as a healer, but I have to have other skills that I can offer, but that also where I can keep learning and I can help my clients even more than I already do. And so it was because of I was down. I was in a down point. And I think that that's when I decided to go back to school for holistic health coaching. And I had already been thinking about it for years. And then because I felt my own health on an edge and really going, I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to have to be able to offer whatever I offer from anywhere in the world. I want to be able to be anywhere and not have to always physically be with people, because as much as I love being physically with people, it can be draining. I can't see as many clients in a day in person. I can see some, but that can't fill my whole day of all in person. I have to have somewhere I can be remote and in person and have just diversity in my offerings and in my ways and I wanted to do something where I could, again, continue learning always. So I think I've been really sick and I chose to go and do a training program. I think it was a birthday present to myself. And that's what every year I usually invest in something that's kind of an immersive experience for my birthday. So it was all at the same time. I was sick. It was my birthday. And I signed up to do the holistic health training program. And again, but it was like I was in a compromised position. I had this issue with my back. I couldn't move. I was really sick. I mean, I was just in a broken down kind of state and going, all right, so there's something more. I need more healing for myself, but I also know I want to be able to offer more to the people that I am so blessed to work with. And every time I've enrolled in something, some modality, some training, other times has been in some version of that kind of a story, but that each time it's just appeared as I've been seeking. and it just clicked. It was like that moment just clicked. Everything else fell away. It didn't matter that there were 12 other modalities I could have studied. It was like the one just kind of went boom, smack in front of my face. And I went, yep, this is the one. It didn't take, as much as I can be indecisive about things, those are the moments that it just clicks. Like it's almost like flawless. I'm in the zone. Something from some other realm comes and says, this is for you. And I go, okay, yes, sign me up. So I really love those moments in life with people, with those kind of just divinely inspired connections that just click into gear and there's no question, it just happens.
I love it. And I love the idea of what you mentioned, that in those moments, you just know, you have zero hesitations. Because I think a lot of us have sometimes this like paralysis of making a decision, making a choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So many choices constantly, and you can do this and you can do that. And how do you spend your day? And what do you invest in? What do you study? But it so resonates. Like when it's right, when you see something that is meant to be yours, you just know it instantly, right?
Yes. The answer is no question. That's where the trust somehow just clicks right into gear. And again, it doesn't mean I don't have the same thing. I can get really too many decisions and too many choices. I can become, it's too much. And I don't even, there's no way I'll choose anything because it bombards my system. I don't have that kind of hypervigilance where I can just like laser in on the thing through 1,000. I can get into that paralysis also. Over analysis and all that. But when they click though, it's an amazing feeling. You're like, oh right, that's how it's supposed to feel. It just is. It just clicks. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And it leads me to my last question is practicing self-love as a healer. How do you do that? Do you have any tips for our listeners? What can people do to tune in better with themselves as a healer, with their self-worth?
One challenge in being a healer or practitioner is that of burnout. I mean, that can come in any profession, but the desire to be of service, to give, sometimes to overgive, to not know when to say no, to just continue to take on as many people as you can and squeeze it all into a day and all that. That is a dance I've had to learn about through many years. And if there's anything I knew, the biggest act of self-love and care is saying no and stopping and actually stepping back and taking a break or taking the trip that you keep thinking you shouldn't because you need to be available to all people all the time, or that you get full in a day and instead of going and doing one more thing, you instead go and lay down for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Like those things, when you actually stop. I have a friend who teaches about intuition, and we both do, but she has this saying around stop, drop, and roll. Her name's Bethany, which means you stop, you drop, like it's like for the fire, but you stop and you drop, like you drop in and you roll with listening to your own voice and your own messaging. And instead of continuing to go forward. So I think that stopping and giving yourself a rest, even when you feel your instinct says, no, just keep going, is one of the most important ones.
I think it's a great advice. I think burnout is definitely real, especially among healers. And the statistic you mentioned in the beginning of the call was just astonishing that people just don't last in this business. And, that's why we're here.
That's right.
Want to prolong it. We want to give as many tools and tips and tricks to this incredible community of healers, as many as we can, to help carry some of those burdens, whether it's business decisions and practices and advice, whether it's just kind of practical tips on how to stay grounded and how to really cultivate that self-love that will keep you going for many, many years, just like you did, Jessica, which was an incredible career. And, we didn't get to touch a lot about that, but just the fact that we're working in New York and you're probably dealing with a lot of different energies and vibrations that are just so strong, especially in the city. So I think lasting so long, it just speaks to your strength and your power. And we're just very blessed to have you and your incredible advice here on the Hills podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's just the tip of the iceberg of what it takes to create work as a healer and a practitioner and marry it with what it means to have it as a business. The two like seem like they don't get together, but they totally do when we learn the nuances and the ways to play with it and to enjoy it and to have fun with it and to also receive help and support in our businesses and with our healing. There are more things I would recommend around self-care, self-love, valuing your worth that I would put into the mix, but that first you have to be willing to stop and take breaks and really, especially if you want to be successful and whatever, and knowing what success means to you, I think is also really important, defining that. And then you have to define it at different points along the way and change your definition as you grow and evolve. And I love being able to be of service and to give back to people and to people's businesses and to refer and to the world. Like, I really referring to others is a huge compliment. And I love mentoring people who are getting started and who want to create amazing practices, but also other healers and practitioners who need support and care. I love supporting each other. I think it's something that we really, really need.